Welcome to Notes on Power. Hit the subscribe button and join the movement.
Today we are delving into a profound document, the founding charter of the Notes on Power movement, penned by Taipo Tabogo Matsimani. This isn't just another manifesto, it's a meticulously crafted vision that draws on a rich tapestry of African and global thought. Eloise, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the movement itself, the Charter outlines several historical documents that heavily influenced its creation. Can you walk us through some of the most significant ones?
Certainly, Noah. The Charter really situates itself within a historical lineage, making it clear it's building on established, weighty thought. A primary structural model is the Freedom Charter from South Africa, adopted in 1955. It declared that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, and its form with declarative articles rooted in principle and specific demands directly influenced the Notes on Power Charter.
That makes sense as a foundational influence. But it also lists the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Banjul Charter from 1981. What innovation does that bring to the table compared to, say, Western human rights frameworks?
That's a crucial point. The Banjul Charter's most important innovation, as stated in the text, is its insistence on collective rights alongside individual rights. It speaks of the rights of peoples, not only persons. This collective framing is something the Notes on Power movement explicitly adopts.
So it's not just about what individuals are entitled to, but what groups or communities deserve. That shifts the focus quite a bit. And then there's Julius Nyerera's Arusha Declaration from 1967. How does that contribute?
The Arusha Declaration is foundational for its principles of ujamaa, or African socialism. It committed Tanzania to self-reliance, a rejection of foreign dependency, and prioritized the welfare of the people over elite interests. Its insistence on economic self-reliance as the bedrock of political independence is a cornerstone of this new charter.
Economic self-reliance as the basis of political independence. That sounds incredibly pertinent today. But I'm struck by the inclusion of the Atlantic Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Charter states they are not as models to be replicated, but as frameworks to be interrogated and exceeded. That's a strong statement. What exactly does it mean to interrogate and exceed them?
It means a critical engagement. The Atlantic Charter, for instance, excluded colonised peoples from its declarations of self-determination. This charter explicitly names that exclusion and seeks to correct it. While the UDHR provides a framework of universal dignity, the Notes on Power Charter aims to push beyond the limitations or blind spots of those earlier documents, particularly concerning African context and experiences. We also see the Lusaka Manifesto influencing its framing of liberation and the Abuja Treaty informing its economic sovereignty clauses.
So it's not simply adopting universal principles, but refining and expanding them through an African lens, recognizing historical oversights. Moving to the core of the document, the preamble lays out a powerful vision. It invokes figures like Sankara, Biko, Gramsci, and Fanon. What's the central idea that ties these thinkers and the movement's mission together?
The central idea, as articulated in the preamble, is the recognition that power is a subject and that most people were never taught it. It aims to empower those most affected by power to understand it. The Charter states, quote, "narrative is infrastructure," end quote, asserting that the most durable power is defining reality itself, determining which problems and people deserve dignity. It believes Africa possesses the intellectual heritage to produce a new, original tradition of power analysis, rooted in African conditions, not derivative of European or American frameworks. It even draws conviction from the Power Bible tradition, spanning from Machiavelli to Mandela.
That's a compelling point about narrative as infrastructure. It suggests that shaping how people think and what they believe is more fundamental than military or economic might. And this leads to Article 1, describing the name, identity, and nature of the movement. It explicitly states Notes on Power is an intellectual movement and not a political party, a non-governmental organization, or a commercial enterprise. Why is it so crucial to define itself by what it is not?
It's vital for clarity and to protect its intellectual integrity. By explicitly stating what it isn't, The movement delineates its operational space. It's about ideas, analysis, and consciousness transformation, operating in the tradition of the organic intellectual, thinking with and for communities, making implicit knowledge explicit. This allows it to engage with political or commercial entities as instruments, but not be defined or co-opted by them. Furthermore, Article 1, Section 2 grounds this orientation unapologetically in Africa, affirming the right of African peoples to self-determination in intellectual, political and economic affairs, including defining their own analytical terms.
A very sober yet determined perspective. Article 3 then defines the movement's people. It states that Notes on Power belongs to every person who carries the consciousness it names, and that it defines its community by consciousness and commitment, not by ancestry or credential. That seems to intentionally broaden who can participate.
It's a deliberate inclusivity, drawing from Biko's idea that being black is a reflection of a mental attitude, not pigmentation. The movement actively works to include those historically excluded from intellectual communities, people without formal degrees, young people, women in contexts where intellectual authority is gendered, and rural communities. It also champions organic intellectuals, those whose intellectual work emerges from community experience, validated by their impact rather than academic institutions.
That's a powerful democratization of intellectual authority. However, it also names Tsepo Tebogo Matsimane as the founding intellectual. How does the movement balance this strong central figure with its commitment to collective knowledge and broad participation, especially given its non-negotiable principles?
That's addressed directly in the Charter. While Tsepo Tebogo Matsimane is the founding intellectual and author of the Power Bible, the Charter makes it clear that the founding intellectual is not infallible. It explicitly establishes accountability, stating that the movement's intellectual standards and founding principles take precedence over the preferences of any single person, including the founder. The role is to initiate and steward the tradition, but the tradition itself is the ultimate authority. This guards against personal branding, which is covered under collective power over personal brand.
It's a thoughtful approach to ensuring durability beyond an individual. This charter then is a really comprehensive blueprint for an intellectual movement grounded in African thought, deeply critical and fiercely independent. If you found this discussion insightful, share this episode with someone who'd appreciate understanding the deliberate construction of intellectual power.